Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Christina Lexak. I'm the Senior Associate Director for Alumni Engagement here at Western New England University. We are joined today by Matt Fox. Matt is our Executive Director of Graduate Admissions. He is also an alum. He did his MBA in 2003. He has a quick overview for us on graduate school and how it can fit into your life and how you too can achieve your advanced degree. We'll go through a few slides and then Matt will open it up to questions for you. Without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Matt.
Great. Thank you, Christina. Again, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time today and the opportunity to share with you an overview of graduate study with Western New England University and try to give you a sense of how you can fit graduate school into your life. As you're considering grad school, I feel one of the most important things that's a part of this process is taking the first step, and it's probably the toughest, and especially if you're juggling multiple responsibilities in your life. So again, I really appreciate you being here today, and hopefully this is the first step for you, and we hope that you will choose to do graduate study with Western New England, because we do have a lot of wonderful options here. So we're going to do today a run through of a lot of information in a relatively short window of time. I want to provide you with a basic overview of what we offer here with the university, talk a little bit about what options you could have available to you, whether it be through certificate programs, master's, PhD programs that we offer here, and then talk a little bit about the admissions process. I'll take some pauses along the way so that if you have questions, you'll have an opportunity to do so during the course of the presentation, but we'll definitely have more of a roundtable discussion at the end of the formal part of this presentation. Now, one thing I feel is really important as you're looking to take next steps is try to figure out what's your reason for going on to grad school. One of the more common things that I hear from folks is they're looking to increase their earning potential. And that's consistent with what we get in terms of feedback and surveys of our enrolled students here for a master's or PhD program. It's also consistent with national data. Other things that people will cite as reasons as to why they go on to grad school is for purposes of career advancement, developing new skills, and then for personal enrichment. So I think it's just, if you take a step back and think about what's your reason and what's going to really provide you with that inspiration, or that, when you need to tap into the reserves as you're progressing with your studies, that self-reflection is really, in my opinion, an important part of this process when you look to make a significant investment such as this. Either way, one thing I do like to highlight is just some general information about the university. So for some of you, you may not be familiar with how expansive our graduate offerings are. We have quite a bit in terms of breadth and depth of our academic opportunities at the graduate and professional programs level here. About 30% of our graduate students, or I should say 30% of our student body are graduate students here with the university. As of our fall census, we had 1,150 graduate students between the law school, pharmacy and health sciences, and then between arts and sciences, business, and engineering. What I'm going to focus on for purposes of the presentation today will be arts and sciences, business, and engineering. Often we'll work with our dual degree programs where law students and pharmacy students will tack on an MBA as a part of the process, so they will work with me. But we do have separate admissions teams that will manage the process for pharmacy, for the PharmD program, occupational therapy doctorate program, and then for all of our law programs, and in particular the JD. So the separate admissions teams and directors will take the lead with those. So again, we're going to do a quick snapshot of, again, arts and sciences, business, and engineering. So what I want to do is simply scratch the surface of what we do with each of the colleges, and I'll take a break after each and just see if there are any questions. But what we do with arts and sciences is we have the MA in English for Teachers program, the MA in Mathematics for Teachers program. We also offer an MFA in Creative Writing, the Master of Science in Applied Behavior Analysis, and then the PhD in behavior analysis. Now, with the behavior analysis programs, these are really geared toward full-time students. So if you're looking to be a career changer, or you have friends that may be looking to get into the field of psychology in a very specified or specialized facet of psychology, these are some wonderful opportunities. We have some of the top faculty in the country. Both of these programs crank out quite a bit of research. Our pass rate for someone becoming a board certified behavior analyst is one of the higher pass rates in the country right now. And that's something we're really proud of, with these programs being a part of our Department of Psychology. But we do have a collaborative arrangement with the New England Center for Children out in Southborough, Massachusetts. And typically candidates in these programs are working with the New England Center for Children, also known as NEC, and they're getting their education paid for. So, and again, these lend themselves to being full-time programs. So these may or may not be an option for some of you, but the other three programs, the first three, the English, the math, and the creative writing, all are geared toward working professionals and present the opportunity for part-time study, and we're set up as such. The English program is more of a hybrid program where it blends online and classroom opportunities, whereas the math program is predominantly in the classroom. Both of these programs will offer the campus-based courses during the late afternoon and early evening, so they tend to be conducive to working professionals. And then with our MFA in creative writing program, this is a low residency program where it's primarily an online format, but it provides you with face-to-face opportunities in short stints 2 times per year over the course of 2 years, where we have short-term residencies where you get to meet with our visiting writers, our faculty, and your fellow classmates, usually for about 5 to 7 days. And we'll host these residencies on our campus, or we will do them offsite in the Berkshire. So we find that folks that are aspiring authors find this really an incredibly inspiring program, and a super flexible program to help them take next steps to becoming published. So that's a quick snapshot of arts and sciences. Again, we have some wonderful information on the website. Are there any questions so far that I can help you out with? Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Again, we're going to have time at the very end of the presentation, but I figured I'd take a little break here and there. So business, this tends to be, our grad business programs tend to be some of the more popular and one of our larger audiences that we cater to. And I think part of that is the MBA program. It tends to be one of the more versatile degrees that we offer. And as Christina shared earlier, this is the pathway I took. And I even went down this path knowing that I had intentions of staying in the higher education field. So it was a great experience for myself, and you know, this might be a wonderful opportunity for you as well, regardless of what background you have. But the MBA offers a variety of concentrations. We also have a general business track, which tends to be the most popular and affords the opportunity for students to pick up electives. And really the way the curriculum's set up is it allows you with your projects to really tailor the program based on your interests. It is an online program, 100% at this point, with the option to come to campus from time to time. We are looking to doing more in an online platform for the MBA as things continue to evolve with our external circumstances with the pandemic, but also with the nature in which business is conducted. We're also following an online format for our MS in accounting. So this is a great opportunity for folks that already have an accounting background, both professionally and academically. But we do, from time to time, cater to folks that are looking to be career changes, and the MS in accounting is a great way to segue in to becoming a certified public accountant. We do offer the MS in organizational leadership. This is another online program with optional in-class sessions, but if you're residing further out and you want to do it 100% online, that opportunity is definitely there. This is another very versatile degree, a little bit different pathway to an MBA, and for some it's a nice alternative to an MBA, or in some cases we have candidates that will tack on a second master's. They already have their MBA, but then they want to recharge their career and their leadership style, and they pursue the organizational leadership pathway to do just that. We do offer a certificate that aligns with the organizational leadership program as well, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but that's also a nice way to reinvigorate your career or build that toolkit. We have a MS in sport leadership and coaching, which is a relatively new program here with the university, and it's something that's grown out of the success of our MBA program, and especially the success of our undergraduate sport management program. So this is a pathway that's a little bit more specialized. It's a program that we promote as a low residency program, similar to what we do with the MFA. It is primarily an online format, but we do have some in-class sessions that are required part of the experience, where we'll have candidates that will come to campus for some short-term face-to-face experiences, and it's really nice as a part of the team building component that's built into this program. Now, we do have two certificate programs that we offer through the College of Business. We have the Leadership Certificate and the Sport Leadership Certificate. Both of these are great standalone programs, but also serve as wonderful pathways to a master's. And what I mean by that is that if you have an aversion for standardized testing, and maybe you don't satisfy our waiver requirements to get around taking the GMAT or the GRE, these are an excellent opportunity where you can get a feel for grad school, knock out 3 of the required programs or courses for your master's program, and set the stage to get the GMAT waived for once you transition into the master's program. So those have been very popular pathways for the organizational leadership and then for the sport leadership and coaching master's programs. So another quick pause. Any questions as I'm sharing some basic information here?
Matt, can you tell me a little bit about the prereqs for the MBA, and like, is the leadership certificate a way to get around having to take accounting, or is that actually required?
Yeah, sure. No, great questions. And so I'll start with the MBA. So the MBA, out of all these programs, has the shortest list of prerequisites for those that require them. So the MBA and the MSA in accounting both have prerequisite courses, but the MBA has 3 courses that are required for admission. So we require accounting, finance, and statistics for the MBA. And so if you haven't taken those courses at the undergrad level, that's okay. You can take credit-based courses with us or at the local community college. We also have an economical way to knock out these requirements through a company we partnered with called Responsive Learning Technologies. And these are online self-study modules that they offer where you can take care of the prerequisites for the MBA, and they're very reasonably priced. You know, they run at about $100 per module, and they have 2. Even though there are 3 prerequisites, one module covers stats, and the second module covers accounting and finance. So it's definitely an economical way in terms of cost savings and also time, because you go at your own pace for these. Now, accounting, I know you didn't ask this, Katie, but I started to go down this path, so just super brief. The MS in accounting does have a longer list of prerequisite courses, and that's something I'm happy to help people out with and walk them through what those requirements are. So that list is closer to 8 courses for accounting for those of you that don't have an accounting background, but we can help you put together a plan. Now, organizational leadership, as I mentioned earlier, is a nice alternative to an MBA. It also is a nice way to circumvent some of the quantitative requirements that tend to go hand in hand with an MBA. And for some, that's very appropriate. But for others, they don't feel that that's necessary based on their career aspirations, their nature of their job. So for organizational leadership, you're not going to have to worry about taking graduate level statistics courses, graduate level finance, or graduate level accounting. With that said, you're not going to have prerequisites that are required for admission for that program. Now, for the master's programs, the MBA consists of 12 graduate courses excluding prerequisites, and then the accounting, the organizational leadership, and the sport leadership and coaching consist of 10 grad courses. So the list is not a daunting list. It's something that's very doable and something that you can knock out quite quickly, and I'll elaborate on that shortly. So either way, other questions?
Do you have like like with my undergrad, I graduated in 2001. So I have all the prereqs for the MBA, but that was such a long time ago. Would those still be applicable?
Yeah, there isn't a statute of limitations as to the prerequisite requirements for the MBA or any of the other grad business programs. So you have some flexibility there. You may find that once you get back into a groove, you're going to adjust and be just fine, or you may feel that even though you have the prerequisites already, that you want to sign up and do one of those modules as a refresher.
Brush up, yeah.
And we have students that do that. And when you purchase the modules, you have access for up to a year, depending upon when you sign up for it. So people will use those as a tutorial as they progress with their studies. I found for me, when I dove back in, accounting was doable for me just based on my skill set, and I adjusted at the grad level. It had been a number of years since I had done an undergrad accounting course, but I hit a wall when I did finance. And I remember I got a tutor here, and then once I got into a groove, it was great and I was fine, but it took me a little bit. And I think whether it's, you know, stuff that you do on your own, or you do the responsive learning technology, or you just say, hey, I really would like to take an undergrad accounting or finance course, sometimes it's a nice refresher to get you back into a groove for grad study.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, in interest of time, I'm going to keep moving along, and then we can come back around full circle to any of the grad business programs here. But for engineering, I'm going to run through some of the basics here. We've expanded quite a bit in this department, and I do want to highlight a couple new additions that we recently learned about, and you guys are going to be the first hearing this. We haven't done an announcement to the community outside of the university, or even internally for that matter, but we have two brand new PhD programs. We have a PhD in industrial engineering and a PhD in mechanical engineering. Both of these are slated to be available for the fall of 2021. So we're going to be adding stuff to our website in the weeks and months to come. We also added a new concentration for our Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and the concentration is acoustic processing for cell and gene therapy. So it's one of the longest titles we have here for an academic program, but that's a new exciting concentration, and we're doing a lot to work with a local company and one of our professors for that. But either way, in terms of just a quick rundown of what we offer, we have civil engineering, construction management, electrical engineering, engineering management, industrial engineering, and mechanical for master's programs. And then for the PhDs, again, we have the new industrial and mechanical PhD programs, and then we also have our engineering management, which was one of our first PhD programs here, definitely the first for engineering. And then we also have a number of certificate pathways that are companion certificates for the Master of Science in Engineering Management and the Master of Science in Industrial Engineering. So these are nice ways to segue into those master's programs, or if you're not convinced that you want to commit to the full grad program, you can do a scaled back version, so to speak, and still build that skill set or expand your toolkit. Now, with our grad engineering programs, some of them are on campus, some of them are offered online, some of them will give you the best of both worlds. So in its simplest sense, civil engineering, construction management, and mechanical engineering tend to be on campus, though we do have some online sections that we offer, but most of the coursework right now will be on campus. Putting COVID aside, we've made some short-term adjustments here, but you know, again, those are campus-based programs typically. The electrical engineering, industrial engineering, and engineering management all have the ability to be done fully remotely and done 100% online. And we do have folks that live locally that go back and forth each week, where they'll come to campus sometimes, or they'll do it online, and it's super conducive to that with the format and the software that we use. So these programs really are geared toward, or at least set up where they're going to accommodate working professionals. And we do have a number of full-time students too that come fresh out of college, or international students that enroll in these programs as well. So it's a really nice dynamic that we have in play for the classroom environment, whether it's done virtually or face-to-face. So that is the snapshot for engineering. And before I forget, PhD programs aside, all of the master's programs are 10 graduate courses. So it's a short, again, just like the College of Business and even Arts and Sciences, the list of courses you're going to need to complete to earn your master's is relatively short. So any questions regarding engineering grad programs? Okay. So how do you fit school into your life? And this is going to vary for everyone in terms of how you put together that plan. I'm a firm believer that time management, priority management are incredibly helpful as a part of this process. And I will tell you that I hear this all the time from students, and I can speak to it from firsthand experience. Once you get into a groove and you build that momentum, you're going to look back and say, God, how was I able to pull that off? But you're going to find probably along the way that every waking moment is going to mean something to you. Something as simple as doing laundry or going out to eat with your spouse or your friends, or spending time with the kids. And then you're going to carve out time to set aside your homework and staying on top of your studies. But it is doable. And part of how you're able to pull that off is between our graduate terms. We have a quarter system here. So we offer 4 11-week terms annually for our grad programs. And just to illustrate this or drive the point home, is that if you're pursuing a grad program that consists of 10 courses and you decide to do 1 course per term, you're going to finish in about 2.5 years. Now, if you do 2 courses per term, which is often the case for our grad students, you're going to finish in 15 to 18 months. So you're going to be done in less than 2 years. And this is for folks that are working a full-time job and in many cases are juggling other responsibilities. So this quarter system that we have in place really sets the stage where you can spread things out, but still accelerate your studies, whether it be on a part-time or a full-time basis. So it's super conducive to working professionals. And then in terms of the delivery models, we do offer, as I mentioned earlier, online programs and evening courses. And we have 27 programs that can be completed online presently. The curriculum is super flexible for the majority of these programs. They're not set up where we're going to tell you lockstep, this is how you're going to do your program. Now, the one exception to that is if you come in and say, well, I need to do it in this exact time frame, then you might have to, be a little bit more rigid, or we might be a little bit more rigid as to what you take and when you take it. But by and large, the requirements here are super flexible for your degrees. So whether it's for arts and sciences, business, or engineering, a lot of the programs are very open-ended with what their core courses are. In some cases, that list is very short, and then the elective list is really long. So it really lets you build your own program. So again, that gets back to that flexibility. So in terms of tuition, our rates are some of the more affordable in the region. We try to keep our rates as competitive as possible. Just as an example, our grad business rates are on par with what the state schools charge for tuition. And we charge you per credit, which is very different than what you probably experience at the undergrad level if you were a full-time student. There's typically a full-time rate that you're going to pay. So whether you're doing 12 credit hours or 18 credit hours, it's this one rate for full-time study. Whereas at grad school, you pay as you progress with your studies. So if you take 1 class, you pay for 1 class. If you take 3 classes, you're going to pay for 3 classes, and then you pay each term. So if you take a term off, then obviously you're not paying anything at that time. And then when you re-enroll, or if you're consistently doing 1 course at a time, you just, again, pay as you pursue your graduate degree with the university. So the grad admissions process. One thing we really try to do is minimize any obstacles to starting your program here. And as a part of that, we are super flexible with deadlines. They're really, with the exception of 2 programs here, being the behavior analysis programs, we don't have a deadline for admission. It's rolling admission, just like what you probably experienced with your undergraduate program here with the university. We have 4 entry points for most of our grad programs based on that quarter system I mentioned earlier. So whether maybe you want to start in January with us, we're accepting applications now. Or if you want to start a year out, regardless of when you want to start, once your application is complete, we're going to get a decision out to you typically within 1 week to 2 weeks tops. So it's a relatively quick turnaround. We have your transcripts on file here, so as long as you did all your coursework with Western New England, you know, I'm going to be able to access that. You'll just click a little box when you apply for admission, and we're going to be able to access that information for you, so you won't have to worry about requesting your Western New England transcripts. If you attended elsewhere since you've graduated, or you attended elsewhere while you were an undergrad, in some cases you might have to grab, or I should say request, transcripts from those schools. We'll walk you through that process. It's pretty straightforward. The application fee is going to be waived for you as an alum of the university, so that'll save you $50 there. As far as tuition and financial aid is concerned, one thing that I talk with prospective grad students about all the time is make sure that if you're working presently, if you're not familiar with what your employer does, research your options. I've often will run into folks that they weren't aware until they talk to their HR department with their employer that they receive some form of tuition reimbursement. So, you know, whether it's partial reimbursement or full reimbursement, often companies will have programs in place to help you finance your grad studies. If you don't have that opportunity, or even if you do have that opportunity, there is financial aid that's available. At the grad level, typically it is going to be in the form of a loan, but just know that if that helps you to manage the investment here, that is an option for graduate study as long as you're in a degree program. And again, for tuition, we do keep our rates, we try to keep those relatively low. So as an example, the teachers programs that I mentioned earlier, you know, they're around $400 per credit. So that's going to be really on par with the state school. The grad business programs are around $919 per credit, and then engineering's around $1,200 per credit. We'll have a whole chart on our website that'll give you a breakdown of the costs. You're looking purely at tuition for graduate study here, and then your books, but we're not going to hit you with any additional fees. I feel our website's pretty transparent with how that's broken out. It'll show you the per credit rate, the per cost, the per course rate, and then the total tuition for your program based on what you're interested in pursuing. And then in addition to a cost breakdown, we'll also have a breakdown of what the admissions requirements are and then the documentation requirements are. And then you can apply online with our online application. It'll take you 5-10 minutes to fill out at the wne.edu/grad app. And you'll be able to, with the exception of supplemental transcripts, aka non-Western New England transcripts, you'll be able to attach all of your documentation and manage your own application and check on the status of things as you progress through the admissions process. So that is the quick rundown. I know I just took you through quite a bit of information. I wanted to be respectful of everyone's time here, and I really appreciate having this audience on the lunch hour, but my contact information is here. So that's my direct line. Don't hesitate to call, email me. But before we wrap up here, I wanted to see if there were any other questions that the audience has that I can help you out with, whether it's about a specific program, about the admissions process, about delivery models, whatever it may be.
Matt, I was wondering, you talked about sort of how flexible some of the programs are, and I guess part of what I'm hoping for would be to go through the program with like a cohort. And so I guess how does that work? Is there a certain time of year that's better to start if I want to like have some peers on the same journey with me? Or is it so flexible that that doesn't really happen?
I've seen it play out both ways. I mean, we don't have cohort-based programs here necessarily for the majority of the programs that we offer. There are a couple that tend to lend themselves to that based on limited entry points. But by and large, for engineering and business programs and most of the arts and sciences, the most popular entry points tend to be the fall and the winter. So basically, and I should have elaborated on this earlier, for our quarter system, we have 4 11-week terms. We have one term, the fall term, that starts in September. The winter term starts in January. The spring term at the graduate level starts in April, and then the summer starts in July. So again, that September start date and the January start date tend to be the most popular. And what you're going to find is that you know, with the people you start with, you tend to follow them through the program. But because we cater to so many working professionals, and just to reinforce the flexibility, if you need to take time off, you know, whether it's a term or two, you can get back in without missing a beat. And we see people do that often, but by and large, usually people are finishing in 2 to 3 years. So you do tend to see a lot of familiar faces, whether it's in the classroom, virtually, or, you know, on campus. So loosely, you know, again, not a true cohort, but you're gonna have those friendships and that network you're gonna build based on your experiences in our program and that quarter system that we offer here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
If somebody were nervous about whether or not they might be admitted, or if their prerequisites, you know, if the classes they took as an undergraduate would actually meet the requirements to get them into a program, would you or somebody else be willing to take a quick look at their transcript before they went through the whole application process?
Oh, of course. I encourage that all the time, especially if someone is apprehensive about taking next steps or worried what is it going to take to get in, or if they can get in, period. So, you know, reach out to me, email me. You know, if you have transcripts, send them to me. If I need to access them here, I'm going to do it. And I can look at prerequisite requirements. I can give you a sense if you're going to need a standardized test, if you're looking at a business program. The engineering programs, PhD programs aside, don't require standardized testing, and same thing with most of the arts and sciences programs. You don't have standardized tests, but I find I often will do preliminary assessments for the College of Business, trying to help someone predict what they're going to need for the GMAT or the GRE and what prerequisites they need, if they need any at all, and how they can go about doing that. So I'll help you put together a plan. And the last thing I want to see you do is apply and go through this, invest all this time, and then get to the point where you find out you can't start. But I do feel comfortable that knowing that we spend more time figuring out how we're going to help you get in and start your studies here, as opposed to weeding you out and shutting the door on you. So we really want to try to take care of our own, you know, especially alums of the university. Any other questions, folks?
What is a typical student like? Is it generally people directly out of undergraduate? Is it more working professionals? What are classes generally made up of?
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to vary from program to program. Each takes on its own personality. And I'm sure some of you have found that with your experiences with the university, whether, you know, you were an engineer or business or an arts and sciences or a law or pharmacy student. I think that they all take on their own personality. But what I find by and large is with our graduate audience, the average age, it's been starting to skew a little bit younger in recent years, but it's ranged from, you know, 28, 29 on average the last couple of years. Prior to that, we were hovering probably closer to 30 or 31. You know, we have students that are coming fresh out of college and transitioning immediately into grad school. And then we have others that are, you know, a little bit more seasoned in terms of the experiences that they're bringing to the table. And I hear from both professors and from students that they really enjoy that, because you're all going to be looking through things, or they're looking through things through a very different lens, and bringing different skill sets or perspectives to the table. So the students really benefit from that as a result. In general terms, the age range that we had the past couple years has been anywhere from someone as young as 22 up to around 55 to 60, just to drive the point home. But the largest range of our students are going to be in their mid to late 20s that are in our programs by and large.
And Matt, I'm sure I'm beyond the benchmark, but how many years do you need to have the GMAT waived?
So we'll consider waiving the GMAT if someone's going to pursue it based on professional experience. We're looking for at least 4 years of experience. For Western New England grads, if you have a GPA of at least a 3.3 and you've graduated within the last 5 years, you can get a waiver as well of the GMAT. So for, you know, younger alums, that's a really nice way to get around that requirement if your GPA was a little bit higher level. But if it's not, that doesn't mean you can't get it waived. It's just, we have a list that we post on our website of GMAT waiver options. And so there's a number of professional licenses and certificates, but Katie, the most common definitely is based on experience. And again, we're looking for at least 4 years, and it's going to be professional experience that includes budgetary, supervisory, and leadership experience. And we'll outline some of the specifics for that on our GMAT waiver form that we post on the website.
And Matt, you had talked about that, you know, it really is realistic to fit a grad program into your life, but what does a workload look like? I mean, if I go back to school and I've got a child or two at home, how many hours should I be planning to put aside weekly to crank out some papers and do my reading?
Yeah, I do get that question often, and in its simple sense, just like with undergrad, you're going to find that it will vary based on the course, based on the professor. But I can tell you that with a graduate course, the workload is definitely going to be more rigorous than an undergrad course. So typically when we're working with students that are been out of school for a little bit of time, you know, we'll often encourage them to start with one course just to kind of test the waters and get a feel for what that workload is going to be like. And usually, you know, it could range from 10 to 20 hours a week for one course. You might have some weeks that are super light, but it all depends upon the projects that are due at any given time. Some of the business courses are going to have team projects that are woven into them, which can be a great experience. I know some people cringe when they hear that, but it truly can be a great experience. Yeah, again, you know, you're probably anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week. So then it gets back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of that time management. And sometimes you may find if you set aside a couple hours a night, or you know that, okay, Saturday is my day where I'm going to set aside a, you know, 8-hour day or 6 hours, and do the same thing on Sunday to make sure you're staying on top of your studies. It's one thing where, you know, it can snowball very quickly. So it's a matter of just pacing yourself. But again, I can assure you, if this is something you're invested in, it can be super rewarding and energizing. And even though it's work, it's not going to feel like that. And I don't want to mislead you. You know, there are going to be times where you're going to, you know, be banging your head against the wall with some of the projects you're trying to fight through. I've been there, done that. But then once you get through it, there's that sense of relief. And I do feel strongly you get so much out of that. It really tests you.
Thank you.
You're
Katie
welcome.
or Katie, do either of you have more questions? Oh, I see a Katie unmuted.
Sorry, one more question. Just, I guess, I feel like that is my specific concern because it has been so long since I was in school. So the thing you mentioned, the responsive learning to do the prerequisites, is that something that is available prior to enrolling, or it's available to you like concurrent with being enrolled in a program?
Yeah, no, awesome question. And another one that I do get that asked from time to time. And the short answer is no, you don't need to be enrolled in a degree program here or at the university period to sign up for the RLT. So when I work with people that are considering the RLT, you know, I try to get a sense of what their time frame is. So for example, Katie, if you were looking to start next fall in the MBA program as an example, I'd probably encourage you to wait till you're a little bit closer to when you're going to start your degree program, so that content that you do in the RLT is a little bit fresher in your mind. You know, for some students, it's again a nice refresher, and they go in, they do it, and then it really helps to set the stage for success for that grad accounting or grad finance or grad stats course. So I don't feel there's a right or a wrong way to go about that, but it really depends upon the individual for the self-study modules. But they're super flexible. They're self-paced. I've seen people go through them literally in a week. I've had others where they spread it out over a couple months, and they want to have a little bit more time for prepping for that pass-fail exam that's a part of the process.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And the courses, are they 3 credit hours each?
They are. All the grad courses are 3 credits. And so for the MBA, it's a total of 36 credits. And then for like organizational leadership is another example, because I think you were asking about business earlier, that's 30 credit hours.
Okay. And is there a you know, I know most grad programs have either a capstone course or a thesis. Would the
Right.
MBA have a capstone or some sort of big project at the end?
Yeah, they don't have a formal thesis or capstone per se, but they do consider the strategic management course that you complete at the end as more or less that capstone experience, because it's a culmination of everything you're doing leading up to that course. And that course, the prerequisites are essentially all the core courses that are a part of the MBA before you can actually register for that course. So that's usually the final course or one of the last two courses someone will take in the program.
Okay. And there's specializations or concentrations with the
For the
MBA? You
MBA?
can choose
Yep,
from?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, for the MBA right now, we offer accounting, leadership, public relations, and business law for concentrations for the MBA program. The College of Business has talked about expanding those, and we've gone back and forth. One thing that they do offer are special topics courses. So you do, as a part of the MBA, you have 3 open electives. So often those are very popular to pick up. So if they're offering an SAP course or a project management course or an international marketing or management course, they're going to have these special topics that they're going to have as a part of the rotation throughout the year. So that's, a lot of people like that. That's why they do the general track, so that they can pick and choose from that menu. But then other people, they can't make up their mind between, you know, the accounting and the MBA or the leadership and the MBA. So they're like, well, then I'm going to do a concentration instead and try to specialize a little bit. So it's really, it's up to you in terms of what's going to make the most sense.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, barring any more questions, I will say thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Matt. You've provided quite a bit of information for us, and if anybody has questions, your email is here on the screen, and I know that you are very responsive to that. So thank you again for all of your time and for giving us some insights into how to make grad school part of our lives.
You're welcome. Appreciate your time, and you know, again, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.